All right, everybody. So let's go ahead and take a look today at our model. First, let's think about the essay as a whole. So we've looked at this model a couple of times. So just a reminder, the main claim or the main idea of this essay will be found at the end of that introduction paragraph. This particular writer is making the claim that these three selections, African Fantasy, Negro Speaks of Rivers, Lift Every Voice and Sing, are the three that most clearly demonstrate the theme of finding strength and hope by looking back to the past. So he looked at all of those selections and he's claiming that these three are the best for this particular theme. And then as the essay continues, each point are these three texts. So point 1, African Fantasy. Point 2, Negro Speaks of Rivers. Point 3, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Today, we are specifically going to be looking together at proof paragraph 2. So first, let's just read proof paragraph 2. In his poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, Langston Hughes develops the same theme of finding strength and hope in the past. Hughes uses figurative language to describe the ancient dusky rivers. At first, the rivers might seem to have nothing to do with the present. However, the poem is structured to describe every river and event from the past as if the speaker were a part of them. I built my hut near the Congo, he says. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young, he writes. Like Ries's painting, these lines show events that happened long ago still feel present to the speaker. Also, the events he describes show how his ancestors have overcome difficulties and achieved great things in the past. For example, Hughes describes how the muddy bosom of the Mississippi River turns all golden in the sunset. He is talking about how his ancestors moved out of slavery into freedom, and he is reminding readers of the long journey of history and the importance of hope. The poem powerfully shows how looking back at the past can bring hope because of the beauty and strength it can provide. Now let's kind of break this paragraph down. Let's first look at the topic sentence, the very first sentence of paragraph 2, which you can see here in red. In his poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, Langston Hughes develops the same theme of finding strength and hope in the past. So what is this sentence about? Well, it's about the selection, The Negro Speaks of Rivers. This is point number 2 that is now turning into proof paragraph 2. How does this chunk connect to the main claim of the model argument essay? So his main claim is that this particular text is one of the three that develops the theme, finding strength and hope in the past. So if we think about how this fits into the larger essay, this is the second of 3 texts. Look at the end of the first sentence. In his poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, Langston Hughes develops the same theme of finding strength and hope in the past. Well, what is the purpose of the word same in this chunk? So keep in mind where this paragraph is. So the introduction has already been written. The reader has also read proof paragraph 1. This is proof paragraph 2. So by using that word same, the writer is reminding the reader, hey, reader, this is the same theme that we've been talking about the whole time. So he's just emphasizing and reminding the reader that the theme has not changed. He's still arguing the theme of finding strength and hope in the past. What other words does the writer of this model essay use in this chunk to create cohesion across this and previous paragraphs? So that word cohesion means that the writer's job is to make sure every paragraph of the essay connects back to his main claim. So the main claim of this essay is the theme, finding strength and hope by looking to the past. So the writer's job is to make sure each paragraph in the essay connects back to his claim or back to his idea. That's what cohesion means. So he already did that by using the word same. How else does he create cohesion? He also uses these key words, strength and hope. Those are the key words that he used in the introduction, and he uses those all the way through the essay. I see it right here, strength and hope. We see it right here, strength and hope. He repeats those key words to help create cohesion, to remind us this is the main claim I'm trying to make. Don't forget, this is my point. So when you're writing your proof paragraph 2 and 3 today, think about how you can use key words like this multiple times because that will help you to create cohesion. Now let's look at this again in its whole. In his poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, Langston Hughes develops the same theme of finding strength and hope in the past. How does this connect or fit into the big paragraph? So if you look back at proof paragraph 2, where is this sentence? It's the very first one. This is like the topic sentence. It introduces the main idea. So it kind of introduces that new text and lets us know the next part of the essay is going to be about the Negro Speaks of Rivers. So it's the first sentence of paragraph 2. It's the topic sentence that introduces the main idea. Okay. What do you expect to find after this sentence in proof paragraph 2? Well, if this is the topic sentence, then I can expect the rest of the paragraph will be giving me evidence from the Negro Speaks of Rivers. And I also can expect that he's going to continue to talk about this idea, develops the same theme of finding strength and hope in the past. If this is the first sentence, then everything else in the paragraph is going to be evidence and reasoning about the Negro Speaks of Rivers. Now let's look at these transitional phrases and clauses. So you should already have this document open. So you should know already that a proof paragraph is going to have these three things. It's going to have reasons, it's going to have evidence, and it's also going to have explanation. Reasons, evidence, and explanation. As a writer, you want to make sure you're using transitional words to show that relationship. So let's look at the transitional words used in proof paragraph 2. It starts with the transitional word in his poem, which lets us know it's a new topic, a new selection. And then look at the beginning of the sentences. All of these transition words come at the beginning. At first, the rivers might seem, however, the poem is structured, like Reese's painting, also, for example. Notice not every sentence has a transitional phrase. You don't want to have too many transitional phrases because a transitional phrase connects. It connects one idea to another. So you're not going to have a transitional phrase for every sentence, but you will have them for most. Which transitional word or phrase introduces a new idea to the paragraph? So if you look at this paragraph, the author actually uses two reasons in this paragraph. So we already looked at this sentence, which is the topic sentence. Now let's look at his reasons. Hughes uses figurative language to describe the ancient dusky rivers. At first, the rivers might seem to have nothing to do with the present. However, the poem is structured to describe every river and event from the past as if the speaker were a part of them. So that's his first reason. The poem is structured to describe every river and event from the past as if the speaker were a part of them. That's his first reason. Right here, the word also tells us he's giving us another reason. He's adding something to it. So if we look over here, this would kind of be like our reasons in addition to another reason is, but he's chosen to use the word also. So he's giving us a second reason with the word also. Also, the events he describes shows how his ancestors have overcome difficulties and achieved great things in the past. So this is reason number 1, and then also tells us reason number 2. Now let's look at this one. Which transitional phrase could replace for example? So let's look right here. So he's got his reason. The events he describes shows how his ancestors have overcome difficulties and achieved great things in the past. Then he's going to give an example of that. The muddy bosom of the Mississippi River turns all golden in the sunset. He's talking about how his ancestors moved out of slavery into freedom, and he's reminding readers of the long journey of history and the importance of hope. So he's giving us an example here. Which transitional phrase could replace for example? So look back at your list. You're going to look in your evidence column because for example is part of the evidence. So if you look right here, which of these would be a good choice to replace for example? And then finally, let's look at it as a whole, the whole paragraph. Phrases and clauses show the relationship between the point, the evidence, and the reasons. So when you're writing your proof paragraph, you need to have all three of those things: the point, the evidence, and the reasons. So the point that he's trying to make is that this selection, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, develops the same theme of finding strength and hope in the past. That's the point that he's trying to make, is that this particular poem develops the same theme as the other two texts. He gives some evidence. Notice that his evidence is not super long. And he also gives us reasons. The poem is structured to describe every river and event from the past as if the speaker were a part of them. That's reason number one. Also, the events he describes shows how his ancestors have overcome difficulties and achieved great things in the past. That's reason number two. He also explains. He's got some explanation in there. So notice after he gives his evidence, he also explains a little bit what that evidence means. And then he ends with the point again. The poem powerfully shows how looking back at the past can bring hope because of the beauty and strength it can provide. Look at those key words again: hope, strength. So today, in just a few minutes, you're going to be writing your proof paragraphs 2 and 3. So how does the language dive you just went through add to your understanding of how to write proof paragraphs? What is something you saw or heard about proof paragraph 2 from the model essay that will help you write your own proof paragraphs today?